At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to a tiny, forgotten planet called Chiton, a world so small and powerless that most of the galaxy probably doesn't even know exists. But what it lacks in size, it more than makes up for in terror, because Chiton is completely under the iron grip of a man called Admiral Scorba. Scorba isn't the kind of villain who monologues dramatically or gives people second chances. He's the kind who rules through fear, and everyone on Chiton knows better than to cross him. Inside a scientific laboratory on this same planet, we are introduced to a man named Jan, a brilliant scientist whose world has just been turned upside down in the best possible way. His wife has given birth to a baby boy, but this isn't just any baby. This child is the result of years of secret scientific work, and he has been born with extraordinary abilities locked inside him. Powers that could one day change everything. The moment word reaches Scorba, he immediately heads to the lab. He doesn't want to raise this child out of love. He wants to weaponize him. In Scorba's mind, a superpowered child is the ultimate military asset, something to be controlled, shaped, and pointed at his enemies like a loaded weapon. But Jan sees this coming, and with precious little time, he does the only thing a terrified but loving father can do. He places his newborn son inside a small spacecraft and launches him into the stars, aimed toward a distant planet called Earth. Jan's hope that one day, this son would grow up, discover who he truly is, and come back to save Chiton from Scorba's cruelty. Now here's where things get really interesting. Scorba has children of his own, and one of them, a daughter named Agata, is watching all of this unfold with burning ambition in her eyes. When Scorba arrives at the lab and finds nothing but an empty crib, he's furious. He demands answers from Jan, but Jan says absolutely nothing. Agata steps forward. She offers to find the child. But Scorba, the man who trusts no one, trusts his own daughter the least. He dismisses her. That is possibly the worst mistake he ever makes. Because Agata doesn't give up. She uses her most powerful gift, the ability to read minds, and scans Jan's thoughts. In an instant, she knows exactly where the baby is headed. Scorba, realizing she's actually found the lead he needed, sends her to Earth on a mission. Find the child, report back, and if she succeeds, he just might let her sit on his throne someday. Agata doesn't need to be told twice. She boards her ship and launches into space, but so does the baby spacecraft, already hours ahead of her. Both ships are bound for the United States. That was the plan, at least. The problem? Plans don't always survive first contact with reality. The baby spacecraft clips a satellite on its way down, and instead of landing in America, it crashes somewhere in the Spanish countryside. A couple named Juan Lopez and Maria stumble upon the wreckage. They don't understand what they're looking at, but when they look inside and find a baby, a very unusual baby with a tiny mustache, no less, they don't call the authorities. They don't run away screaming. Instead, they do something beautifully human. They take him home, they name him Juanito, and they raise him with every ounce of love they have. Growing up, Juanito is different, not just because he's technically an extraterrestrial, but because his strength, his speed, his whole presence sets him apart from every other child around him. And kids, as we know, are not always kind to those who are different. On his birthday, the one day of the year when a kid deserves to feel special, Juanito invites his entire class to his party. Not a single person shows up. Not one. His parents watch their son's heart break right in front of them. And when they finally sit down with him, they gently explain that if he wants to belong, if he wants people to stop being afraid of him, he has to do something incredibly hard. He has to hide who he really is. Juanito listens, and he makes a choice that will define the next 2 decades of his life. He buries his powers. Every single day, for years, he gets up and pretends to be ordinary. By the time we catch up with Juanito as an adult, now simply going by Juan, he's 30 years old, he has a steady job, and his closest friend in the world is his boss, a warm and lovable man named Jamie. Jamie is the kind of guy who shares everything with Juan. And one particular day, he shares something very specific. A woman is coming in for a job interview, and Jamie is already completely smitten with her before she even walks through the door. He's going to pull out every trick he has to impress her. The woman's name is Luisa. The moment she steps into the office, Juan freezes. Because he knows her. They went to college together. And back then, though he never told her, he had feelings for her. Luisa gets the job. Jamie is delighted. Juan is complicated. To celebrate the new hire, Jamie throws a party. He does everything he can to get Luisa's attention. Charm, jokes, stories. but she grows uncomfortable and slips away, making a polite excuse. Juan notices. He follows her, and they end up talking at a subway station, just the two of them, in that easy, natural way you only can with someone you already kind of know. She invites him to dinner. He says yes. Dinner is going great until a group of troublemakers decides one looks like an easy target. Using a classic cheap trick, they knock him flat with barely any effort at all. And Juan, who could have dismantled every single one of them in about 4 seconds, just gets up, swallows his pride, and walks away. He refuses to use his powers. Even now, even for this. But that same night, something happens that puts Juan's restraint to the absolute limit. Juan is sitting alone at a subway station, nursing his bruised ego, when the screech of metal cuts through the air. A metro train is coming, and it is completely out of control. The brakes have failed. It's packed with passengers, and it is hurtling through the station at full speed. This is the moment Juan has been quietly dreading and secretly waiting for his entire adult life. He moves. With speed no human being possesses, he races alongside the train. But his raw strength alone isn't enough to bring it to a stop. So he does something brilliant instead. He sprints to the final station, grabs a fire hose, and anchors it between two support poles, creating an improvised elastic barrier. When the runaway train slams into it, the hose absorbs the impact, and the train grinds to a safe halt. Everyone on board survives. Juan disappears into the crowd before anyone can get a clear look at his face, but he's not quite fast enough. Security cameras catch fragments of the moment. Blurry footage, superhuman speed, and those cameras? They belong to a woman named Agata. Remember Agata, the mind-reading daughter of Admiral Scorba, who landed in America 30 years ago? She never stops searching. While she's been building an empire as the CEO of Chit Technologies, one of the most powerful tech companies in the world, her real mission has never changed for a single day. Find a child from Khitan. When her robotic operatives flag the subway footage, Agata reviews it herself. The movement is unmistakable, but Juan kept his face hidden, and she can't make a definitive identification. Not yet. She mobilizes everything. Her robots go on full alert, and then she does something bold. She books a flight to Spain herself. Back at Juan's office, the news is on. Everyone is watching coverage of a powerful American businesswoman heading to Spain. Then she says something that makes Juan's blood run cold. She wants to personally meet the mysterious hero who stopped the metro. Juan has absolutely no intention of meeting her. But Agata doesn't need an invitation. She has telepathy. And when she reaches Spain, she reaches into the crowd with her mind until she finds someone who doesn't belong. Someone whose thoughts hum at a frequency she's been searching for across 3 decades. Juan is on a bus, headed to dinner with Luisa, when a voice suddenly pierces his mind. Not from outside, from inside. And the pain is immediate and overwhelming. She's calling him, and the only way to make it stop is to go to her. In Agata's office, she lays everything out plainly. Juan is not from Earth. He was born on Khitan. His father sent him here to protect him, yes, but also because Jan believed that one day, Juan would come back and free their people. Juan doesn't believe a word of it, or maybe he doesn't want to. He refuses her offer and walks out. But Agata isn't finished. She reaches into his mind as he leaves and discovers the one thing she wasn't expecting. Juan is in love with Luisa, and he won't leave Earth as long as she's here. That one piece of information shifts Agata's entire strategy. On his way to find Luisa, Juan runs into Agata's robots sent to intercept him. He outmaneuvers them and makes it to Luisa's place, but Agata is already thinking 3 steps ahead. She finds Luisa's contact information, secures a DNA sample through a hacked office vacuum cleaner, and begins building something truly unsettling. A robot that looks exactly like Luisa. Meanwhile, Jamie, who witnessed the vacuum cleaner go haywire and start chasing him around the office, shows up at Luisa's door to warn her. But when he arrives, he finds Juan and Luisa in the middle of a very romantic moment. And Jamie, who has been quietly carrying his own feelings for Luisa this whole time, is absolutely devastated. Agata is watching all of this, and she sees Jamie's heartbreak as the opening she's been looking for. She approaches Jamie and makes him a simple offer. Help her, and she'll help him win Luisa's heart. Jamie, overwhelmed with jealousy and hurt, agrees. The next day, Juan drives out to his childhood home to finally get real answers. And his parents, Juan and Maria, take him to the garage and show him something they've kept hidden all these years, the spacecraft he arrived in as an infant. The moment he touches it, a holographic message from his biological father, Jan, flickers to life. Jan explains everything: the danger, the mission, the powers one carries within him. He tells his son that he is Kaitan's last hope, and that the ship, when Juan is ready, can take him home. Maria, ever the practical mother, discovers a remarkable fabric inside the ship. One that doesn't tear, doesn't burn, doesn't yield to anything. She does what any loving mother would do. She makes her son a superhero suit. One tries to process all of this. His father told him he could fly. His parents encourage him to test it, to really test it, the way you apparently only can by jumping off a building. He jumps. Nothing happens. He crashes, dusts himself off, and tries to figure out the trick. It turns out the trigger isn't concentration or willpower. It's a specific hand gesture. The moment one raises two fingers, reacting instinctively to some kids mocking his outfit, he lifts right off the ground. He flies, poorly at first, crashing into things, ricocheting off walls, dropping unexpectedly. But he learns, and when he finally comes back to Earth and lands, something has changed in him. Before he can fully absorb this moment, Agata sends the Luis robot to his parents' home. The imitation is flawless. Even Juan's parents can't tell the difference. Juan takes her to his room, and Agata, controlling the robot remotely, tries once more to convince him to leave Earth. Juan ignores the pitch entirely and brings up their kiss from the night before. That's when Jamie, listening through the robot's hidden microphone, can't hold it together anymore. He grabs the transmitter and confronts Juan directly, accusing him of betraying their friendship for a woman. And then something unexpected happens. Juan doesn't get defensive. He doesn't fight back. He genuinely breaks down. He admits that Jamie is his oldest and truest friend, and that the last thing in the world he ever wanted was to hurt him. Hearing this, Jamie's anger collapses. He's done. He won't be Agata's instrument anymore. Recognizing that emotional leverage has failed, Agata switches gears. She sends a direct command to the robot: destroy Juanito. The fake Luisa attacks. Juan is stunned for a brief moment. Then he understands. He fights back, and with one decisive move, he dismantles the robot entirely. Jamie immediately gets word to Juan. Agata knows he's switched sides, and she's going after the real Luisa right now. Juan races to find her. He calls Luisa, gets her location, and when he arrives, he tries to explain everything: who he really is, where he's actually from, why any of this is happening. Luisa thinks he's lost his mind. He pulls back his jacket and shows her the suit underneath. She thinks he's trying to break up with her in the strangest way possible. While Juan is still desperately trying to be believed, a group of costumed partygoers mistakes him for one of their own and drags him into a street scuffle. In the chaos, Agata grabs Luisa. Juan gets the telepathic message moments later: come to my building or Luisa suffers the consequences. He goes. Inside, he finds Luisa and Jamie both bound, in a room rigged with industrial speakers emitting frequencies specifically designed to neutralize him. The moment he steps in, the sound hits him like a physical wall. He's weakened. He can barely move. Jamie tries encouragement first, praising Juan, cheering him on. Nothing. Then Jamie does something smarter. He starts insulting him, relentlessly, in the most creative and personal ways he can manage. It works. Fury floods through Juan, and with it, his powers surge. He uses laser vision to cut through the walls, grabs Luisa and Jamie, and gets them out. While Juan and his people regroup in the village, Agata makes a fateful decision. She contacts her father. Admiral Scorba descends to Earth in person, and he is furious. 30 years, he snarls. 30 years she's been on this planet, and she still hasn't retrieved a single child. Agata has had enough. She disconnects his oxygen supply. Right there, without ceremony. The admiral who terrorized a planet dies on a foreign world, scolded by the very daughter he never trusted. And Agata, at long last, takes the throne she always believed was hers. Then she turns toward the village. Back with his family, Juan is tired. Not just physically, he's emotionally exhausted from all of it. He tells Luisa he doesn't want this. He doesn't want to be anyone's weapon or anyone's savior. He wants to be normal. He takes his suit and throws it into a fire. The suit doesn't burn. Of course it doesn't. And at that exact moment, the shadow of Agata's massive warship falls over the village. Agata steps out and makes her ultimatum completely clear. Come with her willingly, or she destroys everything. The village, his family, the entire planet. Then her chair unfolds into a towering battle robot. and the fight one never wanted becomes impossible to avoid. He pulls his unburnable suit out of the fire. He puts it on. What follows is one of the most chaotic, emotional, and unexpectedly funny sequences in the film. One attacks the robot again, and it barely registers. The robot swats him away like a fly. When his father tries to intervene with a simple firearm, the robot activates a vacuum mechanism in its arm and sucks him inside. When Maria rushes in, she gets pulled in too. Juan is fighting a battle he seems to be losing badly. He crashes into a football field and improvises, grabbing a goal net and hurling it at the robot. It misses completely and snares Maria instead, giving Agata the opening to pull her into the machine as well. Jamie steps up to create a distraction, gets captured immediately. Now Luisa is the only one left, and instead of panicking, she thinks. She remembers their first date. She remembers the street thugs and the trick they used to knock Juan down. And she remembers something about water. She parks her car next to a swimming pool and steps back. She trusts Juan to figure out the rest. He does. Juan charges the robot head-on, not to destroy it, but to move it. Punch by punch, he drives it backward toward the pool. When a robot's leg catches the parked car and loses balance, it topples forward and crashes directly into the water. The electrical system shorts out. The machine dies. The robot shuts down completely. Agata is finished. Moments later, the vacuum mechanism releases, and Juan's parents and Jamie come stumbling out of the machine, shaken, disoriented, but alive and completely unharmed. Juan's mother gently reminds him that his biological father and the people of Khitan are still out there, still waiting, still hoping. Juan's answer is quiet, but final. This is his home. He's not going anywhere, but he will protect it his way, on his own terms. He sends Agata and one of the costumed partygoers from earlier back to Khitan aboard her ship. When they arrive, the people of Khitan, who haven't seen a savior in 30 years, take one look at the costumed stranger and immediately declare him their hero. He becomes their new leader, and honestly, everyone seems fine with it. Back on Earth, Juanito and Luisa get married. He steps fully into his powers. No more hiding, no more pretending. The people of Spain get a superhero, and the world gets its first look at the man they'll come to know as Super Lopez. And there you have it, a man born on a distant planet, raised by a Spanish couple with more love than anyone could measure, who spent 30 years pretending to be nobody, only to discover that he was always meant to be somebody extraordinary. Super Lopez is funny, heartfelt, and genuinely surprising in ways you don't see coming. It's the kind of movie that wraps a huge emotional story inside pure comedy, and somehow nails both. Now, here's a question I want you to answer. If you had spent your entire life hiding your greatest gift from the world, what would finally push you to stop hiding? Drop your answer in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious what you'd say. And if you watched this entire breakdown without being subscribed, I'm going to need you to fix that right now, because the algorithm noticed. And more importantly, so did I. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and I'll see you in the next one.